What if the story of Jesus didn't begin in Bethlehem? What if the soul of Christ had walked the earth not once, but many times before that holy night? According to Edgar Cayce, America's most documented psychic with over 14,000 readings, the life of Jesus was not a single chapter but part of a far greater spiritual journey spanning centuries. In his trance sessions, Cayce revealed a stunning truth. Before the manger, the Christ soul lived as Emilius in the legendary Atlantis, as Enoch who walked with God, as the mysterious priest-king Melchizedek, as Joseph the dream interpreter in Egypt, and as Joshua, the fearless spiritual warrior. These are not mere legends or symbolic tales. Cayce's readings contained specific details about these incarnations, many of which were later supported by archaeological discoveries like the Dead Sea Scrolls. Through these lifetimes, the soul of Christ was preparing, building wisdom, compassion, and spiritual power to become the greatest teacher the world has ever known. In this video, we will explore the 5 lives of Jesus before Bethlehem. Through the lens of Edgar Cayce's extraordinary insights, you'll uncover how these incarnations shaped the mission of Jesus and what this hidden history reveals about the journey of every soul, including your own. Are we all on a similar path of spiritual evolution? And what can these ancient lives teach us about our purpose today? Prepare to step beyond the boundaries of traditional teachings into a story of reincarnation, divine consciousness, and the eternal unfolding of the soul. This isn't just history, it's a map of spiritual awakening that connects Jesus' past lives to the destiny of humanity itself. Between 1901 and 1944, from his home in Virginia Beach, Edgar Cayce gave over 14,000 documented psychic readings while in a deep trance state. But here's what shocked even his closest followers. In multiple readings, Cayce revealed that the soul we know as Jesus had lived at least 30 previous incarnations before Bethlehem. Today, we're going to explore 5 of the most significant lives that shaped the consciousness that would become Jesus the Christ. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll understand spiritual development in a completely different way. What if the story of Jesus Christ, as you know it, is merely the final chapter of an extraordinary spiritual odyssey that spans millennia? What if the man who walked the shores of Galilee wasn't just a singular figure, but a soul who lived multiple lives, each one meticulously shaping him for his ultimate mission? If this idea sparks your curiosity, or even skepticism, stay with me, because what I'm about to share will challenge everything you thought you knew about the greatest story ever told. Drawing from the profound psychic readings of Edgar Cayce, one of America's most documented mystics, this exploration will take you on a journey through time, from the lost continent of Atlantis to the ancient sands of biblical lands. If you've ever felt a pull toward the mysteries of reincarnation, spiritual evolution, or the deeper truths of consciousness, this is for you. Buckle up, because we're diving into a narrative that connects ancient wisdom with modern discoveries in a way that will leave you awestruck. Let's start with the first life, a staggering 100,000 years ago on the legendary continent of Atlantis. According to Edgar Cayce's reading 364-4, the soul we know as Jesus first appeared as Emilius, a being unlike anything we might imagine. This wasn't a physical incarnation in the way we understand it. Cayce described Emilius as the first expression of the divine mind, the Logos, manifesting in a spirit body before souls took on physical forms. Picture this vivid scene from Cayce's trance readings. Atlantis was in crisis. The first wave of souls, referred to in the Bible as the sons of men, had descended from higher dimensions but misused their free will, becoming trapped in grotesque half-animal forms. These weren't the graceful human bodies we know today, but bizarre hybrid creatures, the result of souls entangling too quickly with the material world. Here's where the story gets riveting. Emilius, as Cayce revealed, wasn't just a bystander. He was the leader of the second wave of souls, the sons of God, who voluntarily descended to rescue their trapped brethren. But Emilius didn't simply pull them out of their predicament. In a revolutionary act, He became the cosmic architect of human evolution itself, designing the perfect physical form, the human body as we know it today. Reading 364:8 unveils Emilius as the mastermind behind the spiritual framework that allowed souls to experience physical life while retaining their divine connection. Cayce called this being the first Adam, not merely the biblical figure, but the original template for human spiritual development. What's truly mind-blowing? Modern archaeological discoveries, like those hinting at advanced ancient civilizations, seem to echo Cayce's claims about Atlantis, lending an eerie credibility to his visions. We'll circle back to this connection shortly, but it's enough to make you wonder, could Cayce have tapped into something real? Before we dive deeper, pause for a moment and reflect. Have you ever felt a sense of purpose that seems bigger than this lifetime? A fleeting memory or knowledge that feels oddly familiar, as if you've known it before? That could be your soul's memory stirring. If this resonates, share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you had spiritual experiences that defy explanation? Your story might connect you to this ancient narrative in ways you never imagined. After the fall of Atlantis, Cayce's readings reveal that the Christ soul reincarnated as several biblical figures, each life building on the last, like chapters in a divine curriculum. One incarnation stands out as a game changer. Enoch, the mysterious patriarch who, according to the Bible, walked with God and was not, for God took him. In reading 2067-11, Cayce declared that Enoch was Jesus in a previous life, serving as humanity's first great spiritual teacher. But here's what makes this revelation astonishing. Enoch didn't just teach, he documented spiritual principles that became the foundation for all later religious traditions. Cayce claimed Enoch authored the first written spiritual texts, a bold assertion that seemed far-fetched, until the Dead Sea Scrolls were unearthed in 1947, 2 years after Cayce's death. These ancient manuscripts contained extensive quotations from the books of Enoch, confirming Cayce's claim that Enoch's writings were revered as sacred scripture by Jesus' contemporaries. Even more striking, the New Testament book of Jude, penned by Jesus' brother, directly quotes Enoch, calling his words prophecy. How could Cayce have known this connection decades before the scrolls were discovered? The synchronicity is nothing short of stunning, suggesting he was tapping into a deeper truth. But Enoch's mission went beyond writing. Reading 364-9 reveals he was a bridge between the spiritual and physical realms, teaching humanity how to maintain divine consciousness while navigating material existence. In essence, Enoch was laying the groundwork for the Christ message of divine love, triumphing over worldly limitations. Cayce's readings take this even further, claiming Enoch didn't simply vanish as the Bible suggests. Instead, his consciousness ascended to what Cayce called the throne chariot of divine awareness, becoming a template for spiritual awakening that every soul could aspire to. This directly ties to Jesus' later teaching that the kingdom of heaven is within us. The soul that was Enoch was honing the spiritual principles that would culminate in the Christ's mission, setting the stage for a message that would resonate through the ages. Now, let's explore an incarnation that bridges the Old Testament patriarchs and the arrival of Jesus, Melchizedek, the enigmatic priest-king of Salem, who blessed Abraham with bread and wine. In reading 2067-11, Cayce revealed that Melchizedek was another incarnation of the Christ soul, serving as both king and priest in Abraham's time. This figure's significance is profound, and Cayce's insights are almost prophetic. He claimed Melchizedek authored the Book of Job, that timeless exploration of human suffering and divine purpose. During his trance readings, Cayce would quote passages from Job, attributing them to the Son of Man, Melchizedek himself. This connection is staggering when you consider the New Testament book of Hebrews, which describes Jesus as a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Cayce's interpretation suggests Jesus was returning to complete a priestly mission begun thousands of years earlier. What's even more remarkable is the archaeological validation. the Dead Sea Scrolls and Nag Hammadi codices, discovered after Cayce's time, reveal that the Essenes, a spiritual community Cayce linked to Jesus, viewed Melchizedek as a cosmic, angelic figure, strikingly similar to how Christians later saw the risen Christ. Cayce's readings also claim that Melchizedek's sharing of bread and wine with Abraham was the first communion ceremony, a sacred ritual Jesus would later echo at the Last Supper. This continuity across lifetimes is breathtaking. The same soul was establishing spiritual practices in one life that he would fulfill in another. But here's what makes Melchizedek's incarnation so compelling. Cayce revealed that this lifetime taught the Christ soul to balance spiritual authority with humble service. Reading 254:68 indicates that Melchizedek founded the school of the prophets, which evolved into the Essene community where Jesus would later train. This soul was weaving a thread of spiritual purpose through history, preparing the way for his ultimate mission. The synchronicities between Cayce's readings, biblical texts, and archaeological finds are enough to give you chills, suggesting a deeper pattern at work. As we trace this soul's journey, it's clear that each life was a classroom, building specific qualities for the Jesus mission. From Emilius, the Christ soul learned cosmic responsibility, guiding humanity's spiritual evolution. Enoch taught it to translate divine wisdom into human language, preserving it for generations. Melchizedek mastered the balance of authority and humility, laying the foundation for sacred rituals and communities. But what does this mean for you? Cayce's readings, particularly 281-37, suggest that many souls who lived alongside these incarnations are reincarnating today, drawn together to usher in a new age of spiritual understanding. Perhaps you feel a resonance with this story because your soul was there, in Atlantis or with Enoch, or alongside Melchizedek, learning lessons that echo in your life now. This narrative isn't just about Jesus' past lives, it's a blueprint for your own spiritual growth. The challenges you face, the gifts you cultivate, the relationships you heal, they're all part of your soul's curriculum, preparing you for your unique purpose. Whether you take Cayce's claims literally or see them as profound metaphors, the message is clear. Every life is sacred, every experience purposeful. The Christ consciousness, perfected through these ancient lives, is the potential within you, divine, love seeking to awaken in your heart. If this journey through Cayce's revelations has sparked something in you, share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Which of these incarnations, Emilius, Enoch, or Melchizedek, resonates most with you, and why? Your soul might be whispering its own ancient truths, urging you toward a greater purpose. The New Testament book of Hebrews calls Jesus a high priest, after the order of Melchizedek. But most Christians never understood what this really meant. According to Cayce, it meant Jesus was literally returning to complete the priestly mission he had begun as Melchizedek thousands of years earlier. Here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. When the Dead Sea Scrolls and Nag Hammadi codices were discovered, they revealed that the Essenes, the very spiritual community that Cayce said Jesus belonged to, viewed Melchizedek as a cosmic angelic figure, nearly identical to how Christians would later view the risen Christ. The bread and wine that Melchizedek shared with Abraham, according to Cayce, was the first communion ceremony, establishing the sacred ritual that Jesus would later use at the Last Supper. The same soul was literally creating the spiritual practices in one life that he would fulfill in another. But here's what I find most fascinating about the Melchizedek incarnation. Cayce revealed that this was when the Christ soul learned to perfectly balance spiritual authority with humble service, the exact combination that would make Jesus' ministry so powerful. Reading 254:68 indicates that, as Melchizedek, this soul established the school of the prophets that would eventually become the Essene community where Jesus would later be trained. Can you see the incredible continuity of spiritual purpose across these lifetimes? But there's an incarnation that shows us something completely different about how spiritual development works, and it involves one of the most dramatic stories in the entire Bible. The fourth significant incarnation takes us to ancient Egypt, where the Christ soul lived as Joseph, the son of Jacob. Now, reading 294:89 reveals something that will give you chills about divine planning. Joseph's entire life story was essentially a rehearsal for Jesus' mission. Think about these incredible parallels that Cayce pointed out. Joseph was rejected by his own brothers, just as Jesus would be rejected by his own people. Joseph was thrown into a pit and left for dead, symbolically anticipating Jesus' death and burial. Joseph rose to become the savior of Egypt during 7 years of famine, just as Jesus would become the spiritual savior during humanity's spiritual famine. But here's the detail that proves Cayce was accessing something beyond normal human knowledge. He revealed that Joseph entered Pharaoh's service at age 30, the exact same age Jesus would begin his ministry. Both lives followed identical patterns of early rejection, apparent death, resurrection to power, and ultimate salvation of their people. According to reading 2067:7, Joseph's gift of dream interpretation wasn't just a psychic ability, it was the same divine consciousness that would later allow Jesus to understand the spiritual meaning behind all earthly experiences. Joseph was literally learning to read the symbolic language of the soul. But there's something even more profound here. Cayce revealed that Joseph's forgiveness of his brothers who had tried to kill him was the spiritual groundwork for Jesus's teaching about loving your enemies and forgiving those who persecute you. The same soul was learning, lifetime after lifetime, how to transform hatred into love through divine understanding. Reading 3419 indicates that Joseph's successful leadership of Egypt during the famine years was preparing the Christ soul for the ultimate challenge, leading humanity out of spiritual starvation through the bread of life that Jesus would offer. And here's what connects this directly to your own spiritual journey. Every challenge that Joseph faced in that lifetime, every moment of despair in prison, every temptation to use his power for personal gain instead of service, was building the spiritual strength that would allow Jesus to resist Satan's temptations in the wilderness and stay true to his mission, even unto death on the cross. The pattern is absolutely clear. Each lifetime was a classroom where the Christ soul learned specific lessons that would be essential for the ultimate mission of human redemption. But the final incarnation before Jesus might be the most controversial, and it reveals something about spiritual development that could change everything you believe about how souls grow. The fifth incarnation brings us to Joshua, the warrior who led the Israelites into the Promised Land after Moses' death. Now, this one challenges a lot of people because Joshua was known for military conquest, which seems completely opposite to Jesus' message of peace and love. But here's what Cayce revealed in reading 2072:4 that will completely change your perspective. Joshua's role wasn't primarily as a warrior, but as a spiritual scribe and psychic channel for Moses. According to Cayce, much of what we attribute to Moses was actually received and recorded by Joshua through spiritual dictation. This explains one of the Bible's great mysteries. How could Moses have written about his own death in Deuteronomy? According to Cayce, Joshua completed Moses' writings after receiving the information psychically from the departed prophet's consciousness. But here's the deeper spiritual lesson. Reading 294-89 reveals that Joshua's military campaigns were actually symbolic of the soul's battle against material temptation and lower consciousness. The enemies that Joshua conquered in the Promised Land represented the negative thought patterns and selfish desires that prevent us from entering our own spiritual Promised Land. Every victory that Joshua won through faith and divine guidance was preparing the Christ consciousness for the ultimate spiritual battle that Jesus would fight, not against human enemies, but against the forces of ignorance, fear, and spiritual darkness that keep humanity separated from divine love. According to Cayce, Joshua's absolute obedience to divine guidance, even when it didn't make logical sense, was developing the spiritual surrender that would allow Jesus to say, "Not my will, but thine be done," in the Garden of Gethsemane. Reading 2067-11 indicates that Joshua's role in establishing the 12 tribes in their territories was practice for Jesus' work with the 12 disciples, each representing a different aspect of human consciousness that needed to be aligned with divine will. But here's what's most profound about the Joshua incarnation. Cayce revealed that this lifetime taught the Christ soul how to be simultaneously gentle as a dove and wise as a serpent, how to have perfect compassion for human weakness while maintaining unwavering commitment to spiritual truth. The battles that Joshua fought externally were preparing Jesus to fight internally against every temptation to use spiritual power for personal gain, every moment of doubt about his mission, every human desire to avoid the suffering that divine love sometimes requires. Now, here's what ties all 5 of these incarnations together into one incredible pattern of spiritual development that could revolutionize how you understand your own soul's journey. Looking at these 5 lives, Emilius in Atlantis, Enoch the scribe, Melchizedek the priest king, Joseph the dream interpreter, and Joshua the spiritual warrior, we see a perfect curriculum of spiritual education. Each lifetime developed specific qualities that were absolutely essential for the Jesus mission. From Emilius, the Christ soul learned cosmic responsibility, how to guide spiritual evolution for all humanity, not just personal development. From Enoch, he learned how to translate divine wisdom into human language that could be preserved and transmitted across generations. From Melchizedek, he learned how to balance spiritual authority with humble service, how to be both king and priest. From Joseph, he learned how to transform personal suffering into universal compassion, how to forgive the unforgivable. From Joshua, he learned how to maintain perfect obedience to divine will, even in the midst of earthly conflict. According to reading 57:49-14, these weren't random incarnations. They were a carefully designed spiritual curriculum, with each lifetime building upon the previous one's lessons. The soul that would become Jesus was literally attending what Cayce called the University of Human Experience, preparing for the most important spiritual mission in human history. But here's what makes this relevant to your life right now. According to Cayce, every soul goes through similar patterns of development across multiple lifetimes. The challenges you're facing, the gifts you're developing, the relationships you're healing. All of it is part of your own spiritual curriculum, preparing you for whatever unique service your soul came here to accomplish. Reading 281:37 reveals that many souls who lived during these ancient times, who worked alongside these incarnations of the Christ soul, are incarnating now in America and around the world, drawn together again to help establish what Cayce called the new age of spiritual understanding. Maybe that's why this information resonates so deeply with you. Maybe you were there in Atlantis, or ancient Egypt, or biblical Palestine, learning alongside the soul who would become Jesus. And now you're here again, ready to apply those ancient lessons to modern spiritual challenges. The pattern that Cayce revealed through these readings isn't just about Jesus' development. It's about how consciousness itself evolves, how love learns to express itself more perfectly through experience, how souls grow stronger and wiser through every challenge they face. Whether you accept the literal reality of these past life claims or see them as profound spiritual metaphors, the message is clear. Every life is sacred, every experience is purposeful, and every soul is on a journey toward the same destination that Jesus reached: perfect love expressing itself through human consciousness. According to reading 262-49, the Christ consciousness that was developed through all these lifetimes isn't just a historic achievement. It's the template for human spiritual potential, the goal toward which every soul is evolving. The same divine love that was perfected through the experiences of Emilius, Enoch, Melchizedek, Joseph, and Joshua is the love that wants to awaken in your heart right now. This is why studying these spiritual teachings isn't just about understanding the past. It's about accelerating your own spiritual growth in this lifetime. Every quality that was developed through these ancient incarnations, cosmic responsibility, divine wisdom, humble service, transformative compassion, and perfect obedience to love. These are the same qualities that will make your own life a blessing to everyone you meet. If this incredible journey through Edgar Cayce's revelations about Jesus' past lives has opened your mind to new possibilities about spiritual development and reincarnation, please take a moment to share this video with someone who might need to hear this message. Make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos about Edgar Cayce's other amazing spiritual revelations, including his predictions about America's spiritual future and the coming age of enlightenment. And let me know in the comments which of these 5 incarnations resonated most strongly with you and why. Your soul might be remembering something important about its own ancient journey toward divine love. We want to sincerely thank you for taking the time to watch the video in its entirety. If you're interested in exploring more topics on spirituality, inner transformation, or mind philosophy, don't forget to subscribe to the Top Hidden Knowledge channel for more content on wisdom, spirituality, and personal growth. Or if you have time, check out other videos on this channel. Until next time.